Welcome, Frankmeisters, to another episode of True Crime Talk with Frankmeister. My name is Shanker Sage. You can call me Frank. And let's welcome Kristin behind the crime door for a little chit chat tonight, just to hang out,
Hey,
open
Frank.
discussion. Hey, Kristin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, it's been a glorious day.
Awesome. I love the new setup you got going there.
Yes, I have a subscriber that reached out to me a couple of days ago and had been following me for a while. And she knew that I had a lot of issues with mic and earphones and all that stuff like that. So she reached out to me and asked me send her what I really needed, and then I did, and she sent it all to me.
That's so awesome.
I'm really grateful for what she did because it looks more professional to me too. So
it's very cool.
But thank you. You know who I'm talking about out there. But otherwise, how you been?
I'm doing well. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Just hitting the gym and trying to live the life, you know?
Right. I remember those days. I hope I don't have to go back to doing all that. I wish I could on a regular basis, but with the nerve damage and everything that's happened to my body, I don't think my body can handle lifting weights anymore.
Yeah, it's good for the soul.
Yeah. I get enough workout with Blade all the time. So
I was just gonna say he probably keeps you busy.
I mean, he takes me for the walks, honestly. But otherwise, let's give a shout out to everybody in the chat.
Hey everybody. Good to see all of you here tonight.
Renee Dejas, Renee Days, Ziggy, Daily Survivor, Marbles, Angela Vanoven, Tech Death, what's going on? Metal Mama.
Hey, Tech Death.
Nana 72, Dunham, 63 o'clocks. Joe Newman, Randy, Grismatic. There's my man right there. Hey, bro.
Hey, Grizz.
That damn intro is kicking, bro. Appreciate it.
That's really awesome.
Much appreciated, brother. You know I'll get with you on Friday. And we got Olivia too. Who else we got in here? Leslie Kingdom. CJK.
Hey,
Wanda.
CJK.
Rescue all dogs. And matter of fact, she's in Florida on vacation right now, guys. So say hello and enjoy the weather down there.
Hey, Rescue. I'm glad somebody's warm. It was 75 here yesterday, and I woke up to 29 this morning.
You know, and it's so funny you say that. It was like 26 degrees when I took out Blade first thing this morning. And the wind's blowing.
Yep.
And he's got his nose all in the air like it's no big deal. And it's colder than hell outside. And I'm like, dude, this ain't the time for that, man.
Yep. 3 weeks till spring. And I'm like, geez, Louise.
Right. We got Charmaine's in the house. Teresa K. Ivy. Good to see you. Amelia. That's my granddaughter's name, Amelia.
That's a beautiful name. Jeremy, it's okay. People misspell Kristin all the time.
And we got James Powers.
With an I.
We got Mrs. Depp.
Hey, Depp.
Thistle do nicely. We got Todd. What's going on, Todd? Boston Christian, Julian Friend, Sparky. Pam Hurst. Good to see you. One of my good friends, Pam Hurst. Let's see. I know I saw Lake Michigan, Jeremy Hall, Witchcraft, Mary Fleener, Bill Manning, Deb, nice to see you, hon. Let's see. This looks like I've caught up already, huh? So let's talk about the latest news that's been going on. We, pretty much debunked the Ron Logan crap. People are still questioning me. I mean, as a matter of fact, I just got somebody to hit me up yesterday or late last night and asked me if I had the Ron Logan police report because of other channels claiming he had failed to polygraph miserably. And I said, man, here we go.
Here we go. Oh, my God.
I said, and then I put a comment on my community page. I said, for any of you people that are into that Ron Logan theory, I said, I suggest You go back and watch John Kelly, the profiler's little short that he did. And then I wanted to mention to him too, I said, go back and watch Fig's video he just created. And then I had somebody come back and say, well, you don't have the right to tell people or being boss. I said, if you're suggesting that I used the word suggest, that I was bossing people around, I said, God help you. And I left it at that. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, I do.
I mean, John Kelly said it perfectly. He said it perfectly. You expect a 77-year-old man, drunk most likely at that, to hightail it up on that bridge like he's a 20-year-old, capture the girls, get them down the hill, get one of them at least undressed, get him across the creek, kill him on his own property, and leave him on his own property.
Yeah, it's you know, you don't have to go too far out there to realize that 77-year-old men don't just decide to start double homicides at 77.
Right.
Especially of children. It's
yeah.
just not. I mean, I'm not, like I said before, I'm not saying that Ron Logan was a good guy by any sense of the word, and I don't want to make light of his of the girlfriend that, you know, says that he was abusive to her. I don't want to take any of that away from her.
Well,
you know, but that doesn't make him a murderer.
Right. And, you know, speaking of Connie, you're right. You can't take away the fact that a lot of talk about him being abusive to women. You know, I totally get that. And I understand where she's coming from just by what she's saying. But to go out and say that she's never spoke about it at all and has been proven wrong, Fig did it again today. Posted it up there. Hey, she was on Facebook groups claiming this in 2017.
Yeah.
Well before
he was, but well before his picture or his voice was out there, she already knew it was him.
Right. And then she comes out on the CW and basically goes backwards on what she said, you know.
That's confirmation bias.
Right.
It's absolutely what that is.
You know. See if we got any questions in here so far. Oh, if anybody just wants to come up and chat and has any questions for me and Kristin, you're more than welcome to come up here, guys. And we could try to answer any questions on the panel to the best of our ability.
Yes.
And that's what this tonight is for. It's open discussion, guys. That's why I did this. For anybody that wanted to come up and had any questions or just wanted to chit chat with us or anything. So there's the link in the chat if anybody wants to come up.
Yep. Be great to have you and have a talk. Hey, Metal Mama.
You know, and like me and you were talking before backstage, as far as what sleuth theory was last night. And I had to refer, the theory was that the girls were, at least one of the girls was undressed somewhere between the private drive. Give me a few minutes, Chris. And down the hill near the creek, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the clothes were found in the creek on that little island or sandbar or whatever you want to call it, which told when I heard that, I said, damn, now that's starting to add up with Nicole Robinson's search warrant affidavit on Ron Logan. When she said the girls, there was no struggle of any sort, it to me, it almost added up.
Yeah, I think it was, you know, it's, we've had conflicting reports because we've heard she fought like hell.
Right.
And then we've heard that it was over very
quickly. Right.
And we've heard that it was super bloody, which we know that, you know, a sharp instrument obviously was used. I think we all know what that is. And we think, you know, I've heard people say, one of the things that bothers me is that they're out there. Barbara McDonald even was talking about this, about Libby possibly being partially decapitated, without nearly decapitated. And that's not true from what I know about things. So there's just a lot out there that's still not verified information, and a lot of it is things that we really don't need to talk about, really. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's things that
Right.
are painful. Just before I came on with you, Kelsey tweeted something that, it just really hit me, because it goes and it speaks to everything I believe, and everything we talk about how these families hurt and what they have to go through.
Right.
And the salacious, you know, vivid speculations that people can do and talk about live. I don't mind doing certain things behind the scenes with people,
Right.
but to go on lives and, really start dissecting injuries and things like that, it's cringeworthy to me.
Right. Right. And we don't
Because
know. We
we know
don't
they
know
watch.
We know what little we know about what injuries was what. To what extent we don't know.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
people were asking me about it 2 years ago, and I said, look, from my understanding, this is the only way that I could put it is just go back to the Nicole Brown Simpson situation. That's the only thing I can tell you.
Yep.
So
I just think it was really quick, and
then that's why I went back to the Nicole Robinson, and I said, damn, that lines up with what Lou's saying now. She said there was no struggle. As soon as they got up on that bank within 50 feet, it was over and done. Done and over with.
And they law enforcement has always said that the girls didn't get taken anywhere. They didn't get, nothing like that happened. It all happened right there on that spot.
Yep. And then he panicked and was trying to cover him up, and either he got spooked by somebody yelling for the girls or somebody
came home. I still say I heard that Weber came home at 3:30.
Yes.
And if he came home at 3:30 and drove up that private drive, that would have been enough.
Yep.
Because that's right there.
Exactly. So one of those two scenarios right there is my opinion on what spooked him, and he got out of there as quickly as possible.
Because he may not have been finished with whatever it was he was doing or wanted to do. He had to hurry up and get out, like you said, get out of there.
Right. And now I'm hearing whispers about that he did admit that he killed him, and the reason why, to the doctors up in Westville, or either Westville or down in Wabash Valley.
Well, let's hope he did.
Let's
hope he did tell him why.
And if that's the case, that would be the reason why the defense was so against him, Nick McClelland, getting those records from up there.
Right.
Because they had it in there. If that's the case.
Well, mental health records can be very telling, for sure.
Yes. And I think what's going to happen if he can't get his hands on those records, they're just going to subpoena the doctor, and I hope he doesn't pull that client-patient
the
privilege.
Confidentiality. Because of HIPAA, he may not be able to tell them anything.
Well, I think the judge can probably do something about that. I'm sure she can.
Because they are privileged, medical records are privileged information, unless it seems to me that if it has to do with murder, there might be a
loophole.
There might be something there, because I know, as a psychiatrist or a physician, nurse, whatever, if a patient tells you they're going to harm someone, or they're thinking about harming someone, or whatever, you have to report that.
Right. Exactly.
You have to report that. It's just similar to the same as if with child abuse situations.
If they go into the hospital, it looks like
they have to report.
Right.
So I think it's the same in a Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get Chris up here. What's going on, Chris?
Hi, thanks.
How you doing, bud? What can I
Yeah,
do for you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Not bad. What's up?
I wanted to respond to a couple of the things that you guys were saying earlier. You're right. No one knows exactly what happened or how it went down or how the girls died. So then, what do you guys think about the David Erskine text then?
I still say that that's an emotion. Those are emotions that are in those texts from him because of who he was and what he saw.
Right. I would have to agree with that.
Okay, so you don't think any of that stuff he said was true? That he was just
I believe
he was just
it's true
acting in the moment or something?
I think it's true in his mind of how his mind processed what he saw. I'm not necessarily going to say 100% that everything he said was truthful. I think it's
your
truthful to
mind.
him.
Your mind will play tricks on you.
Yes.
And that's a proven fact. That is science in 101 right there.
Because I don't think he has any reason to lie about what he saw. That was his need.
Right.
So
And that's true too. So if let's
get Randy up here. Mr. OG Randy, grab it. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much. Doing pretty good tonight.
Got quiet.
So I was just going to tell you real quick, you guys, this is exactly what Kelsey reposted.
You guys think Libby was the target or
Kristin was talking.
Victims and families deal with real crime, which is traumatizing and instantly changes their lives. Content you consume, which is us, is where you often see speculation that could harm a case and jokes made at the expense of victims. Where do you stand when it comes to victim exploitation? Victim exploitation is not victim advocacy. So,
wow.
The families, they have a stake in this. They have a dog in the fight. We don't. That's why I said it. We have to be really careful in how we cover cases. How we choose to tell their story matters.
Sorry, I'm going through the chat, guys.
Do you guys think the Kleins were involved? And if so, do you think it was both of them or just one of them?
My opinion right now is that I'm still on the fence, but leaning over the fence that Klein is involved due to Anthony shots, and there's some stupid crap that he did that basically implicated him in being involved, but nothing's been proven yet. You see what I'm saying? Like the search for the DNA and all that garbage on his phone when he was in Vegas. The timing of him going to Vegas and when the girls were killed, and then him admitting to having contact with Libby, and there's just too many things that he said and that they've proven that he's tied in somehow, but we're just waiting to see what it is.
Yeah, I think he, even if he wasn't actually there, I think he did tell Richard Allen about Libby being on the trails that day. Would you guys agree?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think Richard Allen could have been used Anthony Shots account some way and found out about Libby and found out about her Snapchats or whatever she was using and started trailing him from there. Hold on.
I am wondering why he...
Chris, let Randy get in here.
Yeah. Sorry, Randy.
That's all right, Chris. Now, the other thing is between Keegan and Rich Allen, they both had fake accounts, fake email accounts on the internet. So in order to link King Klein, they would have to be able to link to Richard Allen's fake accounts he had online. So that will be the only question, is how they can link those two together.
Right. Let me get in here real quick. Miranda, there you go. I always say hi to you every time I see you. Don't even go there.
Yeah.
Do you want to chirp in on that, Kristin, about what
I'm
Randy was
just going
saying?
to say, what I'm going to say is this. We don't have all the evidence and we don't have all the facts in this case.
Right.
And there are a lot of tentacles, we were told by Doug Carter, and we're going to have to wait and see whether or not Kagan Klein is part of those tentacles. Honestly, I don't believe Tony is, but that doesn't mean that I'm not wrong. I have leaned for quite a while that the Kleins aren't involved in this, but that does not mean that the Anthony Schatz profile isn't involved in this. If you guys remember, when law enforcement came out about Anthony Schatz, they didn't say anything about Kagan Klein. They knew who created Anthony Schatz profile. They weren't looking for the creator of the profile. They were looking for people who had interacted with it and somebody who had, talked with them or talked with it. And so they weren't really looking for Keegan. They already had him.
They were basically looking for others that were tied.
They wanted people that had interacted with this profile. Now, why they put that out on the Abby Libby tip line leads me to believe that the investigators were thinking there might be a connection. Doesn't mean there was one.
Right.
But they were thinking that there might be.
And see, the bad thing about it is, if it comes out in the long run that Keegan had nothing to do with these murders at all, his name's still going to be tied to this case for the rest of his life.
Oh,
no
yeah,
matter
for
what.
sure.
No matter
There's
what.
people out there that will go to they'll go to their grave believing he was part of it.
Right. Let's get in the chat here.
Another reason why I was wondering if the Kleins were involved was because, number one, some people don't believe Richard Allen could have acted alone, and number two, there were other girls besides Libby and Abby in particular on the trails that day.
Well,
hey, Jinx, good to see you.
Yeah, that's the other question. Why didn't he go after the 3 girls that he saw before on the trail? Why didn't he go after them? But yeah, there's other people he could have done, but for some reason he was waiting for Libby and Abby to show up.
See, there was an interaction between Richard Allen and one of the girls somewhere outside. If it was on social media or somewhere, there was interaction somewhere where it pissed off Richard Allen, or the girls pissed off somebody and Richard Allen was going after him for that reason. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with.
Yeah. If the Kleins weren't involved, then do you guys think it could have been any of the other suspects or POIs after all, like James Brian Chadwell or Garrett Kurtz or maybe Charles Andrew Eldridge?
Right now, for Garrett Kurtz, he would, because I went to the court hearing for Ray Hinnish, he would have said something then to in that courtroom, but he did not. So we know that he might have killed other people, but he's not going to give that up.
I don't believe that Garrett Kurtz had anything to do with this. I don't believe that anybody else had anything to do with this. Either Richard Allen is a lone wolf, or I still think he's a lone wolf, actually. I really don't think that anybody was in the woods that day that helped him. I think he was a very capable individual that with a gun, brandishing a gun, could have done what he did. But I will say this, that doesn't necessarily mean that he wasn't fed information.
Give me a second, Kristin. Somebody's got some feedback somewhere. I can hear it. Okay, it's gone now.
Sorry.
It's all right.
It doesn't mean that he wasn't fed information from somewhere.
Right. Right.
Law enforcement said they believed that this crime was targeted, and I think that to me means something. I don't think he was just out there looking for anyone that day. Somebody said, I think it was Gray Hughes, early on, he was hunting. I don't believe that. I believe he went there
for a purpose.
And he knew what he was going to do when he got there.
Yeah.
If it was that he got hired or somebody put him up to it or whatever the circumstances were, but I'm leaning a lot more, almost to 95, 96%. It's a lone wolf situation now. After all the information that we've gathered over the last since Richard Allen's been arrested, it's looking more and more like a lone wolf situation.
And we may never know why, you guys. We may never know motive. A lot of times these guys never give up motive. So we may never know. Now, if it's true and he has told a psychiatrist, then good for him for coming clean and talking about why he did this. I think that none of us will ever be able to wrap our heads around anything he tells us as to why he did it.
Not really. Especially the family will be.
Oh, exactly. It's never going to be good enough, No. Well, I mean, how could it?
I mean, the dude. Oh my God! I just.
Well, see, at the beginning of this case,
it just mind boggles me that he tells his wife and his mother, we know at least 5 times, up to 6 times.
I hear it now too. I hear the feedback, you guys.
Who's got feedback going on?
Does somebody have a TV on?
It's not mine. Chris, you got something on?
Chris, you got something on?
Sounds like it's coming from you, Chris.
I am curious about something else. If Keegan Klein and Richard Allen were involved in it together, why hasn't either one of them tried ratting out the other in order to try to save himself?
Chris, you got a TV or something on? Was your feedback coming back from your end, dude?
Oh yeah. I think it's a fan. Sorry, but can you guys hear me?
That's better.
Here we go.
No.
Yeah, I can still hear somebody's TV.
Let me go check mine. Hold on, guys.
Hold on, Chris. Hold on. Wait. See what
mine is turned down all the way.
Go ahead and ask your question, Chris.
Hey, Aspen, how are you, my dear? So good to see you.
Okay, so I am curious about if Richard Allen and Keegan Klein were involved in it together. Why haven't either of them tried ratting out the other one by now in order to try to save their own butt?
Well, that's probably Keegan Klein kind of.
Yeah, somebody's got a TV on. It's not mine.
Gave up information to look in the Wabash River in Peru, Indiana. That's why Keegan Klein gave up that information and had them search the Wabash River at that time.
Hey, Chris, I'm going to cut you out, man, because there's an echo coming from your end, bro.
The only thing I have turned on is my fan. I guess I'll try turning that off.
Well, I'm going to let some other people come in too, dude. Is there anything else you need to, any questions you need to answer?
Yeah. The PCA said that Bridge Guy is behind Abby in Libby's video, but the thing is, I've seen that video and there's no Abby, just Bridge Guy.
There's
but if you remember right, when law enforcement was at the press conference talking about the video, and he said, think of it as a television and think of it as this is your TV and this is all you see. This is what's in your line of sight. You don't see what's off over here. You don't see what's off over here. They cut that video and made that video so you can't see her.
Right.
And I think there's a reason why. Probably the look on her face, maybe, you know, we don't know for sure, but I definitely think there was a reason why they cut her out. And I agree with Cheryl McCullough. I told you guys to go watch that video that she did with Susan McDonald. And one of the things that she said was, if you watch him walking, he's walking towards the center of the bridge like he's turning to come back. And she firmly believed that he's walking and coming back to them. He passed them, turned around. That's when Libby said, uh-oh, something's really not right here. She started videotaping him.
What's going on, LA?
Hey.
What's going on?
Not too much. I just joined in, so I'm going to sit back and catch up on the conversation before I...
It's good to hear from you.
You too.
How's everything going on your end?
Great.
Good. So, we're just sitting here talking about scenarios here and trying to get the people to understand that Ron Logan is not Bridge Guy and
that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy.
Yeah.
Go watch Fig's videos. If you don't believe Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, go watch Fig's videos.
Yeah, Ron Logan's my height, so he wouldn't be the height that they're looking for.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm strictly focused on Richard Allen now. And that's all there is to it, period, point blank. And I've had discussions with other people today in the last couple of days, actually, about Brittany, his daughter.
Yeah.
It's making me it's almost to the point now where I'm starting to understand why she hasn't spoken up, because she knew and she don't want to be in the limelight.
Aspen, you know who Fig is. Quit it. You know who Fig is.
Where's Aspen at?
Aspen's making jokes.
Yeah, at 9:37 p.m. That's where he says, "Who's Fig?"
Who's Fig?
And I got Brian Emery asking, do you think Baldwin orchestrated the leak? Honestly, you want to know my honest opinion? 100%. 100%.
I agree. He did that on purpose. He actually did that on purpose.
Once the psychiatrist saw him and the attorneys found out what Richard said, that's when it all started. Every last bit of it, I'm like,
I definitely think that, in my opinion, yes, Andrew Baldwin orchestrated everything that happened. And the one thing that he failed to understand or not imagine was that someone would take their own life because of this. And when that happened, everything blew up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Everything.
Now imagine if this gentleman did not take his own life. Would they have gotten away with this? The leaks
and
the circumstances surrounding the leak. And like me and you were talking, Kristin, backstage. And what the hell is going on with Westerman now? All of a sudden, he wants charges dismissed after you got a sworn affidavit admitting to what you did. What are you going to say? You were coerced into doing that affidavit?
Yeah, and Baldwin went and got him an attorney.
Yeah, out of his own firm at that. You know?
Well, the one thing is, when he passed all that out, if, of course, we know that one gentleman died, and it could have been another person could have killed himself from this. Then that would have been a problem.
Well, I really think it was the final straw for Fran Gall. I mean,
think
they had done so many things that were adding up, that were ticking her off. And she was like, they're not acting ethically as they should. And they're not acting in the best interest of Richard Allen, their client, which is paramount to me. Even though I believe that Richard Allen is bridge guy, I still know that he's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. And I want him to get a fair trial. I don't want there to be issues because I want justice.
I don't want anything that has happened to come back and bite everybody in the ass and he's set free. You know, I do want justice.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. You know,
So
but the way they're trying to get justice is by getting the case thrown out or dismissed by doing the stupid shit they're doing. It's not going to get him anywhere.
No, it's not.
So I have a thought here. Has anybody is anyone familiar with the Adelson case out of Florida, Tallahassee, Florida?
No, I don't.
What's the name of the case?
Oh boy, that's where I wanted to get Ruckus in on this. The Wendy Adelson case. It was Dan Markell, a Florida State law professor who was murdered. I actually babysat like 2 roads down when I lived there. So I mean, that was how many years ago? But at first, there's so many trials. So the first trial was for the hitman. Then the next trial was for the hitman's girlfriend. Then for her brother. Then the mother just got arrested before trying to flee to Vietnam. So the whole thing is just, I want to question some people who would know the law system better than I do. There's a lot of things that they can't talk about because what if there's other things that are way bigger that this exposed, but Richard Allen is one piece of it.
I just think it's not as big as that. I just think it's a lot more simple. The murder and the crime. Yes, I would agree. I think it's more simple. I do. But I think then from this, they might have discovered other things going on. So as they've been investigating, you could see through Indiana and Kentucky, and there's been so many. I mean, did they not say that this was one of the biggest CSAM investigations in a long time?
Yeah, in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, in the state of
yeah. And so then there's been so many undercover things in the news, and they don't share it. But it's so I think it's leading to other things, not immediately related to Richard Allen.
Well, I mean, if you want to go down that angle, I mean, when I did me and part 2 of Sleuth the other day on Jordan Sofer, people were asking me about Richard Allen, and I have a document sitting right here to my right about somebody tipping in Richard Allen on the Jordan Sofer case in January of 2023, and the detective working the case at that time made it very clear Richard Allen has nothing to do with the Jordan Sofer case. They have one prime suspect that they are looking at, and they're just waiting on one tip to solve this case, and it's a pressure campaign right now on the Jordan case. We'll get a little bit into that a little bit later. We're still talking about Delphi, so.
I hate when they do that, though. What's the one tip? Can you give us a hint what you want?
There's a couple people out there. One failed a polygraph, and the other one was the roommate. Even though she passed, from the documents that I see and I have, she passed a polygraph. But anybody can pass a polygraph if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, polygraphs. That's why they don't hold up in court.
Right.
And law enforcement uses them as a tool.
Right.
But and a lot of times, they're paying attention to how that person reacts to things and how they react to questions and how they actually react to knowing they're going to be polygraphed and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But
they get a feel out for the person before they start action. They get a feel for them before the test even starts. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want to see an excellent polygraph exam, look at the polygraph exam that's online of Chris Watts. I mean, that polygraph was spot on. I mean, she told him, I'm going to know. There's 2 people in here right now that know. And we're at the end of this, I'm going to know.
I think I saw criminality in here. That was her initial specialty, the Chris Watts case. That was something else.
Well, where are you at, criminality, if you want to come up here?
Hey, she's on here somewhere.
I saw her in the chat. Hold on.
Yeah, there she is. The one at 9:45 p.m. What's
because you want to talk about, they know. I mean, it's like these investigators, and especially the profilers and the FBI people that are behavioral analysis, that's what they do for a living.
Right.
They
They
know
study-
how to size these people up. and
They study these people, and that's how they come
Exactly.
up with these questions on how to get what they want out of them. You
Mhm.
know,
That's true.
exactly.
Kristin, to the point where I heard that she even purposely dressed in a really a trendy cardigan that was like, looks like it was a jail outfit, like black and white stripes.
Well, I just think that she was
Possibly.
amazing in how she handled him, because I mean, she was really kind to him and tried to be understanding, and all I wanted to do was strangle him. So I couldn't have done it.
Right.
I wanted
Right.
to just strangle the guy. And later knowing what we know, it was just mind blowing.
We got Todd here. Dave Erskines did an interview with another channel recently. He addressed all the texts, which I recall are mostly not real. I know who you're talking about. We all knew who they were talking about.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, how are you? Sorry, I missed that earlier.
Is it Joe Newman in here?
Yeah, Joe Newman's in here.
I mean, like we discussed this just a few minutes ago when it came to Dave Erskine's texts. I think the texts were out of a lot of emotion. Honestly.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of emotion.
You're
And-
not really, you're looking at if you see something and your mind just starts to exaggerate after a while what you actually saw.
Exactly.
like you said, two people went to psych doctor trying to just get that what they saw that day
Right.
out of their mind, and it's still there, and they just can't get it out.
I mean, I don't think I would ever be able to get out of my brain. I mean, honestly, I don't know how Richard Allen did it for nearly 7 years so far.
I mean, it's that's what psychopaths do.
Oh, I just can't imagine.
I'm trying to learn how to see the chat while I'm talking. Ivy Rose always has the best comments of wisdom here, but I think there could be things that are absolutely emotive that we just don't know yet. We don't know if he was connected to Odinism. We don't know what kind of right now he looks squeaky clean, but we also don't know so much more that could be about him.
Well,
about Richard Allen.
Exactly. I totally agree with you, because just like we've talked about, and just like we showed last night on my live, that these guys, they compartmentalize so well their lives. They live a normal family kind of life, go to work, do the thing, whatever. And they have this evil secret life that they hide from everyone. Mm-hmm. And we don't know the real Richard Allen. And I'm afraid that I don't think probably a lot of people know him.
And and I keep hearing this here lately that he's never had a criminal record. We do not know that. We don't know if he had a criminal record and he had it expunged. We don't know that.
The only thing I found that he was had speeding tickets without no seatbelt on, and that's all. A couple times he could have gone to jail for several of those incidents, but they never did.
And Rescue All Dogs makes a good comment here. She said, perception became reality for Dave Erskines for the moment.
Yeah,
that is a good statement there. Thank you, Rescue, on that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Randy.
And yeah, criminal, Joe Newman's right. Criminal records mean nothing, because look at BTK, you guys. He didn't have a criminal record, and he was killing people for decades.
See, those are the people you got to watch out for, the quiet to themselves people.
Yes.
Because you don't know what's going on in some people's twisted minds. You just don't know.
I had one FBI agent. He's out in California. He told me that there's certain elements they look at and know when they are actually born. They say, well, how they write, how they do things, and those are the signs of he's going to be evil, doing bad things in the future. So they would have to go back. What did Richard Allen do as a child?
Yep.
That's where it would start.
And I said all along, I think it's extremely telling that we have a man who has been incarcerated for a double murder of children since October of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not heard anyone standing on the street corner screaming as he's taken into court every time, Richard Allen is innocent. He's my friend. I went to school with him. He could never do this. He's my cousin. I know him. I used to drink with him. There's no way he's done this. Where are all of his supporters? Where are the people who believe Richard Allen is innocent besides crazy people on the internet who don't even know him?
Well, yeah, especially they would have came from Mexico, Indiana, come to Delphi and protesting, saying, like you, Christian, said, like, be yelling he's innocent, but they haven't. There's nobody else out there protesting and saying he's innocent.
Not even his own daughter.
You know, listen, I've been to every hearing, and there's only been two people at every hearing, his mother and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
That is it.
And they were always quiet.
Well, and then there's maybe I have been in those parts where I've shifted from one side to the other after learning different information. So there's some people that believe what they think on the internet for certain reasons, but that's a good point that we're his close friends. Mm-hmm. One thing that I heard was about like him at Walmart and kind of going after the two girls or whatever. So I mean, we just don't know what kind of motive or we don't know what kind of twisted reason he might have. Now, the one thing that Frankmeister, you know, that I've sent to you is that, you know, if the defense wants to say something that so we've learned Odin is a thing. Okay. It's out there. It's a thing. Mm-hmm. It's a religion. So we've learned that. Does it mean that they ritually sacrificed and did this whole, no, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. We don't know anything yet, but if they want to say that there's absolutely no ties from Richard Allen to Odin, well, I mean, when he was arrested, there was that big Odin beard. And, you know, Frank, I'll just leave it up to you because I sent you the connections that I believe.
We've discussed this, but my problem with the whole situation is with the Odinism angle.
It's just enough.
Well, what I'm saying is that when you go back and read all this stuff that the defense has put out about the Odinism crap, where did they learn the Odinism stuff from?
Oh, good question. Very good question.
Richard Allen.
Or, okay.
Richard Allen.
Yeah.
And how did Richard Allen know who Odinists were? How did he know so much about Odinism when he was only locked up there for a couple months? And he was separated from everybody else, and he only dealt with guards.
Yeah.
Tell me.
He would have gotten it from those guards.
Not necessarily.
I don't think so. I think he's been following this case diligently since day one, and everybody that has followed this case since day one knew about the Odin angle. We all knew about Brad Holder. We all knew that. We all looked at him. We all deep dived him. Some of us even turned him in. I mean,
Very true.
Odinism is not, it didn't just come up in the last few months, you guys. It
Well,
was
it did
all
for-
over Reddit.
It did for the mainstream people and people coming in like season 7, 8, and 9 of the Delphi thing. So you guys were the original, the OGs. So
it was like, if you go to Reddit and you go back to the, you know, the old stuff on Reddit, you can see all the conversation about all of this. And if he was watching, which I believe wholeheartedly, that he was trolling all of it and watching, he was in groups, he was, I firmly believe that he wanted to have a handle on what people were talking about, what people were saying. And I also think it's quite possible that he was even interacting and giving false narratives out there.
Well, what gets me is some of these people.
He's not dumb.
No, that dude is smarter than a box of rocks, man. I'm telling you right now, like we just said a few minutes ago. Those kind of people are the quiet people, and they keep to themselves, that are the geniuses and are smart. And especially with this guy, man, he was military trained.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing the FBI agent he told me. It's like, if he's quiet and you see him, you can see him in coming in the courtroom and stuff. He's so quiet. It's like, okay, what are you thinking in your mind, Richard? Every time I wondered what he's thinking, what he's going to scream and yell. Every time he comes in the courtroom, he hasn't done that.
He had this whole thing mapped out.
Yep.
He knew exactly what he was doing, where he was going, where he was taking, what he was going to do, and knew exactly the quickest way to get out of there. And anybody that's been in the military gets trained that way. You do what you got to do and get the hell out of Dodge before the enemy sees you. Because police officers and other people that are in the area are going to be your enemy.
He would have had to run up that hill really fast in order to make it. It's hard to go up that steep hill.
And from the photos that we've seen just months prior to all this happening, him in the bars, he was not that big of a guy at all. And you got to remember, and you can ask any journalist, any TV camera specialist, or anything. When you're on camera of any sort, even on a phone, it makes you look 10 times bigger than you really are.
Hey, Cecil Hotel, how are you?
And a lot of his pictures, he over the years, we've seen he's skinny, built, rock climbing and stuff like that. So, and like Carter said, he'll change his look so nobody would know it's him or not.
But like you, there's Redfoot. Oh boy, here we go. We got some good people coming here tonight. What's going on, bub?
What's happening, y'all?
Yeah, hi. It's first time seeing you up here.
Yeah, man. You know, I don't.
What's going
I'm not
on?
too good with cameras.
What are you thinking?
Man, look. RA was a photo tech at what, CVS?
Yeah, CVS, yes.
Man, those people still see every photo.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just digitally do it. So if Holder or anybody's bringing anything in there with Odinism or whatever, he's going to see it. So what if that idea just got stuck in his head?
It makes me wonder if he was trying to replicate something in that general, and that's what all this Odinism came up with. He was trying to replicate something and didn't know what the hell he was doing.
Exactly. Like he had seen it before, but he didn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Ivy Rose hit the nail on the head.
The
sticks were probably something that he did for himself for his own reasons. We don't know what they are, but they weren't runes and they weren't supposed to look like runes. Somebody just is deciding to say that, but they're not. And I don't believe, I mean, I just don't believe any of that. I think that's all bull. He was just trying to cover them up.
Well,
I also think that he covered Libby up and her face and all of that because for the obvious reasons that they do that. He was remorseful afterwards, even though we may not understand why. That's why he covered her.
Well, that's why Deb, when we had the walk for Libby, like Deb said, you cannot miss any sticks out there or limbs out there or the leaves all around.
That's the whole floor. Sticks everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't make as a detective. They should look at the crime scene. Don't come up with things that somebody else says. Yeah, it belongs to the Odinism. No.
I mean, I've been out there numerous times, and it was treacherous getting out there, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I told Frankmeister that you be careful going that way.
Yeah, and I learned my lesson the second time. Boy, what I learned my lesson the second time.
Hey, Steve almost fell down backwards down that hill in the middle of the night, so he knows how treacherous it is.
Oh, I did bust my ass going down the main hill, going down to the ravine. Yep, I sure did.
Well, Jamie Hicks had a pretty good point of, we love Jamie Hicks, that where did all this come from? She believes it came from that the defense had a lot of stuff that she had put out in the Discord. I don't use Discord, so I have no idea.
Well, Jamie wasn't the only one putting it out there. Trust me.
Okay.
The Delphi Knot Discord, there was a couple of different Discords that the people in there firmly believed that Ron Logan was bridge guy and did this crime. They also were putting out all kinds of false narratives, in my opinion. And the reason that the defense got a hold of them, people, is because that Frank's motion is almost verbatim what was being said in the Discords. So
Correct.
The people in that Discord group actually was helping Richard Allen's defense.
I don't understand that.
I don't think any of us understand that.
I think they leaked that shit on purpose. They did it to slow everything down. I mean, that's what I think.
Well,
they don't want a speedy trial. They lie when they say they want a speedy trial. They don't want him in court.
It's blatantly obvious now that they don't want a speedy trial. Well, it's blatantly obvious.
Well, the other thing is how they horseplay around trying to get Richard Allen to be moved to the jail they want him moved to, but
and what is this shit that they just filed the other day, ex parte, to have a hearing about getting money for experts?
Hey, Ruckus, you need to come up here.
I shouldn't say experts, but we know why they want the money. Didn't you guys just get allotted $2.1 million back in 2022 when he got arrested and you got appointed to case? What the hell did you do at $2.1 million?
They spent it on themselves. That's what they did.
You know what I'm saying?
In their own pocket.
That's a good question. I think that the court should request to have, they have to turn in all of their pay, everything that they're doing. They have to turn all that into the court. So they have to allot for that money.
Kristin, if you call Ruckus's name 3 times, he has to come on.
Come on, Ruckus.
I haven't even seen him in the chat.
Ruckus in here.
Ruckus,
I'll make room for him. I'll make room for him. I gotta go take my V8 candy.
I can't even keep up with the damn chat.
All right, y'all. Thanks.
All right, Redfoot. Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, so I have one thing to say is that because right now I'm with 2 people who were in the courtroom with me, Randy and Frank. So at the end of that day in June, we left, and what was the impression we all had? I feel like we all kind of felt like after sitting in there and all the information is subject to cross-examination, and we left feeling one way. And I think I was very surprised when, on different YouTube channels, different takes from the day were put out that I would have done.
Oh, yeah. Me and you have had many discussions about that. I'm just like, man, look, there was several of us that were sitting in there. We heard exactly what was said.
Yeah.
And then you got people that weren't even in there are trying to make up what they wanted to hear.
Especially on the CW. I'm like, the people commenting on things in the courtroom, they weren't in there.
Right.
Well, especially I had there was a new news reporter from my town, from my city, And I was getting him caught up, and he was surprised what happened in that courtroom that particular day. It's like, I said, well, you're getting caught up from about this case now. So it's surprising. It never surprises me what happens in the courtroom. Always seems like there's something new happens in that courtroom.
You know, that day we were in there, and all of a sudden the defense mentions about his confessions on tape.
They brought it up first.
Oh, yeah. And you just see the look on Nick's face. He said, oh, yeah, they just opened the door wide open for me now. I was God damn. Now we know what the big news was about. Because it was talk there was going to be big news in this hearing. And we didn't, nobody knew what it was.
Nope.
And then as soon as we heard that, you look at everybody and our jaws just dropped. Like, what?
I mean, true. It was reported as though, like, you know, he brought it up many times and was talking about it. He didn't say a thing till the defense kind of opened with that.
Yeah.
My two family members that are detectives said that his 6 confessions are going to be what puts the nail in his coffin.
Oh, they're damning.
Oh, yeah.
Damning.
It's going to be very, very, very hard for them to deal with that as the defense. And never mind everything else, just those.
But and they might just be simple confessions, or they might be a confession that drops some information about the crime scene that we don't know. We just don't know yet.
I mean, the way it's playing out as of right now, it's looking like the defense is trying to push for a trial.
Well, I would kind of like to see it televised so that everybody could have the same, you know, opinion, like, you know, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, that trial. I'm so glad that was televised because we all could kind of come to our own conclusions about what we saw. And so just, you know, we were in the courtroom, and I don't know how the whole day got changed to something entirely different.
Right. And honestly, I do not see Judge Gould allowing cameras in the courtroom
I don't
anymore.
either. It's been, not with all the leaking and everything that's been going on. Don't hold your breath.
They had that one
crucified for that.
Well, I mean, the October 19th hearing, and then what old fucking Dave Hennessy tried to pull at the last hearing in Delphi with his phone. No wonder the judge is not allowing this shit to happen. You're making a mockery of the court when you're doing that. That kind of crap. And I understand the October 19th was not in her hands. It was Court TV's fault, their technician, because he had the cameras rolling the whole time before the hearing even started and caught people on camera that weren't even supposed to be on camera. That pissed her off, you know? So people are not looking at these kind of situations and trying to understand where the judge is coming from, you know? We're trying to protect some victims in this case, and yes, Kathy is considered a victim because she's the wife of a murder suspect. She's going to be a victim just like the other families, but not in the same sense, you know.
She could be completely, absolutely, completely in denial. If she was living in a household with domestic violence, which we have no way of knowing what she's lived through with him in all the years she's been with him. You know, if she is anyway battered, whether it's emotionally, physically, whatever, she seems to me like she's a really strong woman just from videos and things I've seen of her, but and pretty outgoing as well. So it makes you kind of, you know, maybe not really see that from a battered woman's standpoint, but I really think that she could be living in the dark where he is concerned, and she absolutely would not let herself go there where, you know, why did she not know that was her husband on the bridge? Why did she not know that was his voice? You know, he had an explanation. I'm sure he told her, yeah, I was out there that day, but I spoke to the law enforcement and they cleared me. She believed him.
And that brings me back to the point. The BH at the bar that came up with a statement saying, oh, he had already been to law enforcement, and he was not a suspect, and they let him go. And you remember that little thing that they were talking about, Fig was talking about, and he made the video about the article,
Yeah.
the WTHR. Nothing was ever mentioned to WTHR about him going to law enforcement and giving a statement.
No.
Never. So how did this? And who was it that was talking about? Could that have been Richard Allen?
I said to Fig, what if that was Richard Allen
Right.
posing as DH?
Right.
Because like I said, we have all been trolled on social media. Those of us who have subreddits, my subreddit, I was trolled. I was trolled here on my channel. We've all seen them. How do we know who's sitting there behind that computer? We don't. How do we know who those people are that are saying those things? You can't just assume they're somebody's friend. It could be somebody posing as them. You can't. I mean, I was just sitting here before I came on tonight. There's a new Netflix documentary out there, a true story about a guy who was basically stalked by a woman he dated for 2 weeks on a dating
That's fascinating.
site. And you talk about twists and turns in that case. Good Lord Almighty.
Did you hear me, LA?
It's
LA?
It's
Did
great.
you hear me?
Sorry, no, what'd you say?
I said, did that sound familiar?
Oh, just from
Yeah.
little
I
videos.
know. Yeah.
Well,
You never know who someone truly is. And that's what's so scary about all of this is you don't know who you're sleeping next to, whether you've been married for 44 years or you've been married for 2 or you've been dating for 2 weeks.
Right.
yeah, there will start to be a number of red.
BTK is a prime example.
Well, something I have to say is that I think what I'd like to say is that Indiana is, I just feel like they're because of all this, there have been things in the news that I've seen like that have come out with I mean all these sex rings and what, and it just kind of blows by. It's on the news and you don't really see it. So sometimes law enforcement can be a thankless job and they can't expose everything that they're doing because they can't set people off. And also like it would kind of blow the minds of some of the regular people who just, can't even fathom that this happens. So what I want to say is that I think that even if the Richard Allen thing is a lone wolf, is not even him, whatever people's thoughts are. I'm saying I'm from Indiana and I believe that they are taking this and getting a bunch of people at once, like tentacles. They're taking a lot of people down there. So in order to do that, they have to sit back and get the official proof, because here it is 7 years, 6 years. So in reverse, what would we be doing if we would be saying, what is wrong with all these people and the prosecutors? It's 7 years and ISP, they can't even get an arrest. I mean, which way do we want it?
Let me get to Ivy Rose's thing here. Regarding your recording, I believe they are, but from my understanding, they're not supposed to get any family members in the recordings, like Kathy Allen and Richard Allen's mother or any of the victims' families. I think the cameras were supposed to be strictly on the prosecutor defense table and the judge, period.
Yeah, they don't want the cameras on the defendant all the time because that is prejudicial to him.
Right.
So they don't want that.
Right. So I'm just reading through the chat here because we're going on an hour and 15 minutes. We got about 5 minutes left, guys. We can get to as many questions as we can. Have you guys seen anything in the chat that needs to be answered?
Where is this? Anna Lisette says, lawyers have lots of ways to say stuff without saying anything, yet 2 batches of attorneys say Richard Allen is innocent. If he's confessed as clearly as some believe, why don't they qualify innocent? Because they're defense attorneys. Defense attorneys are never going to come out and say that their client's guilty, especially when he hasn't even been to trial yet.
Right.
They'd be in big trouble if they did that with the bar.
Anything else from you, LA? Laura? LA?
But hey, not my first time. No, just the whole thing of like, I guess let's think about it. Of if we were here in the opposite, we've been saying it's 5, 6, 7 years now. We don't have an arrest. Well, they made an arrest. Sometimes it's, I don't know. I might be thinking it's one arrest to include others, as you said, other actors. I might be wrong, but I mean, let's think about what would we be saying if we are here and there was no arrest. It's still a cold case. Would we be complaining in the same way?
Of course they would.
Yeah.
Of course they would. In this community,
Yeah.
this community is never going to be happy, no matter what. Even if
Right.
Richard Allen is found guilty and ends up with the death penalty, there will be a complete uproar on social media where everybody will make nothing but content about how Richard Allen was railroaded and put to death and all of this. Guaranteed.
Let me get to this Robin B real quick. I'm wondering why RA has extra chains on him as he is transported to court while other people possibly going to court don't have less chains. First of all, he's a murder suspect. They got to take every precaution that they can to make sure he does not attempt to escape. They've got a shock vest on him. They got shackles on his legs. They've got a shackle box around his waist, a belly box, the whole works. Now, how do I say this? Less violent offenders are most likely not to be shackled up like that. Somebody for like DUI, or possession of a joint or something like that. A simple misdemeanor that they could pay a $200 fine and go home. It's completely different circumstances when it comes to a murder suspect. If I'm wrong, Ruckus, I'm sure will correct me, but from what I've seen in Indiana, any murder suspect that I've ever watched on the news has been shackled up the same way.
It's Indiana's way. It's not Idaho's. If you watch and see how Brian Koberger's being handled, it's completely different.
Right.
And he's a suspect of 4 homicides. So brutal homicides. So yeah, definitely different.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
it's by
the
state.
way, and I don't agree with it either. I think we need prison reform, but I don't know that he's treated entirely different.
Well, I will
than
tell
anybody
you,
else.
I just watched the other day a defendant in a courtroom jump from the defense table onto the judge, hurt her. I guarantee you they need to be shackled.
I saw that one too.
She was sentencing him. It was at his sentencing, and he dove for her and got to her.
The other thing is that it was horrible. If you look at the courtrooms and you're on the 3rd floor and it's just like, it's beautiful. There's been somebody, I can't see, it was a Carroll County one. It was somewhere in Indiana where the person dove over that balcony on the 3rd floor. And those are things I wouldn't expect, but that's really tragic. That was his way of committing suicide. So,
but we're at an hour and 15 minutes. We're going to wind it down. I want to thank my guest, Kristin, behind the crime door, LAX for popping up, Randy for popping up, Chris Owens for popping up.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I want to thank everybody that donated to the channel and supported my channel tonight. Thank you very much. Kindly appreciated. To all my mods, especially, thank you for hanging out, making sure everybody behaves themselves in my chat. Once again, I love each and every one of you. Until next time, you know what time it is. Peace out.
Good night,
One love, guys. Good night.